back. How you doing?
Good, man. Same.
Yeah. Wanted to ask you some more stuff. So, obviously, people know you for being a drummer.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to a little bit where you know, career really began for you. I wouldn't say began, but when you know it started to hit that high profile. David Sneddon. Am I pronouncing that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guy who was he won the Fame Academy?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. How did that go down? How did you even get? You know, how did you get the call? How did you get the job?
Weirdly enough, yeah. I just remember around that period of time in my life, I was doing hella showcases.
Okay.
Used to work with like a lot of local artists, and then so working with a lot of local artists who were like kind of showcasing to labels to get signed at the time, like artists like Blazin. Yeah, it was like I'd say probably maybe about 4 months in, because initially after Sneddon won Fame Academy, he had only had a single, so he'd come out of Fame Academy, his single went #1. I think he was #1 for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
So label basically moved us into Townhouse Studios at the time, because they obviously decided that we needed to cut an album because the single had done so well, which is going to be expected because he'd just come off of one of the hottest competitions at the time. That was kind of like the early days of that whole that style of competition.
Okay.
So yeah, basically it was like, shit, got a #1 single, need to cut an album and get some more stuff out there. So when we was in Townhouse, the first point of contact was Elton John's band was brought in to record that album. So that's when I kind of got to come across Elton's band and the engineers and whatnot, and then that was that. So obviously and on a record with these guys, that's his band, and then we was out on the road touring, and then we was a support act for Elton, and kind of like from there.
Sorry to cut you. At that age, you're doing a lot. You would have found, like how I'm sure a lot of musicians find today, you would have got scrutiny from elder musicians who maybe would have thought, you know, you were too good at the time, or who is this guy just coming in? Were you ever scrutinized or ever told to sort of, you know, silly things like, oh, stay in school, and you know?
Yeah, I mean, I had that type of thing, because at that age I was young, so kind of like looking for mentorship and all of this stuff. But you know, I had people that were saying, oh, don't worry about, you know, doing gigs, you need to get stuff together. But deep down inside, I just knew that it was something that I had to kind of cut people off and just get on with. So I had to like, because I kind of, you know, people always tell you, yeah, you need to do an apprenticeship, you need to get mentors. But once I started realizing that, you know, like not everyone just because they're older than you means that they're a mentor. Some are just actually natural born haters. So it's like, yeah. And obviously back then doing high profile style thing, going on tour, you know, doing high profile TV appearances, people are going to be, you know, upset, disgruntled, because, you know, I'm doing things at my age that people, you know, at the peak of their career haven't even achieved. So of course I was gonna get that energy towards me. I was just like, cut them off, do you know what I mean? Put that whole ideology that I need to have a mentor and have this and have that. It's like, really and truly, I had my father at the time, so I was like, he was more of a mentor to me than any of these other guys. I just kept it moving, really. And just to enjoy the moment, because, you know, I know that nothing lasts forever. So whilst I'm in that bubble or whatever's going on at the time, you know, I'm never going to be 18, never going to get to experience going on top of the pods again and whatever. It's like, I just enjoyed that moment for what it was. And the way to enjoy it is just cut people off. You don't need to be in, you know, in that whole thing.
So would you say, speaking of like enjoying moments, I understand there was a point where it all started to come up, like it started to catch up, a bit of the fame, and I think there were some moments that you sort of described as a dangerous lifestyle where there were environments where these artists were like their own gods, and you know, you could just be so many scenarios of people just licking asses all day. Did you ever find yourself in any of these scenarios?
100%. I mean, that's kind of like the game, you know. Everyone is kind of they've created their own world. So for people to be in that world, a lot of people just become yes men, and it's just part of the game, really. Truly, it's something that I've always had to experience. But the thing is, with me, I've always been outspoken, so to speak, or had my own mind.
Yeah.
You know, and so I've always kind of like vocalized my standpoint on things, and I've never really cared. You know, that kind of, I don't know, some people have this thing where it's like, oh, they've made a song or they've created a moment, so everyone's kind of in awe, which is I don't have a problem with, but it's kind of like they start to look at people differently. And I've always been able to just see people for what they are and the core of the person that they are. So it's like, all right, cool, you know. And I've always also been blessed to be there in the crossover point, you know, between them being who they are and then them now having this big single, big album, big whatever thing happens. So I've always connected with people like that. I've just kind of maintained that. So it's like, all right, cool, I know you're this person that now has a #1 album, but I don't agree with X, Y, and Z, or do you get what I mean? And I've always been the person to say it, where something might happen and then they'll be too scared to pull them up about it because they're like, oh, he's got a #1 single, and if I say anything, then I might not be involved in the campaign or around the person anymore, so I'm just going to become a yes man. I've like never cared about that shit. I've always been like, yeah, if I think something's wrong or it rubs me up the wrong way, or I think that there's another vantage point to the situation, I've always like been the person that's kind of brought it to light and been like, yeah, I think this. And because, you know what I mean, like I've always brought something to the table, like, you know, amazing musician or had some sort of insight and been a part of the live show, like, then I guess my opinion's always been kind of taken into consideration. Whether it's agreed with or not, I don't know, that's another debate, but I'm definitely at least given the time of day to be listened to, and I think that says a lot, really.
You've earned it, obviously,
yeah.
You know, with all the people that you played with.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny, it's interesting, because when we spoke last time, we spoke about how the game had changed digitally, in terms of, you know, the plus side, in terms of downloads and streams, how it's negatively affected other people and positively affected other people moving on.
Yeah.
However, there are some people who have come into the game almost like a lot of people would do, wearing their heart on the sleeve. And you know, just like you said, that there are a lot of people that just because they're older, they're not these mentors that they sort of other people will make out to be. They've just got a lot of hate. And we know, there are people that come into the game, they wear their heart on their sleeve, and then find out in a really bad way that most of these people are not actually for you, they're actually against you. How did you find dealing with that? Because I noticed in one of your songs you had quite a clear statement, which says, snakes in the game is quite nuts. Reese's. Now when I heard that, I knew exactly what that meant, and I loved it. So could you just clarify for our audience, you know, in your own words, what that actually means, especially for new music artists?
I mean, yeah, it's just a thing of like, yeah, people kind of tend. I've kind of been in this situation where, like I said, I've been blessed to see the crossover points with a lot of projects. So when I've started working on a lot of projects, it's been at ground level where there might not have been much label involvement, not much budgets involved and whatnot. And so I've been a part of that building process to build it to the point where now the label's involved, big deals are getting done and contracts are getting signed, things turn into, and it gets that makeover gloss. Do you know what I mean? I've been in a lot of those positions, and I think that in that circumstance is when people change, because when money gets involved and big checks get involved, and you know, people's real intentions come out, people come out the woodworks as well. So for me, it's just like, yeah, you can really see the different attitudes and the snakiness in people, and maybe the hidden agendas that they kept hidden. It all seems to come out when the big deals are getting done, or money's like really running. Do you know what I mean? So that is just that really, and it's just human nature. Obviously, it's not only applicable to just like the music industry. It's applicable to life, I think, and that's what that whole bar is really.
Would you say music and money changes the way that artists then start to perform? Like, for instance, when you're on tour, at what stage do groups and professional music artists start just miming instead of actually putting on a performance?
Yeah, I mean, that's mad, because obviously when I first started, miming was something that was done, I guess,
I guess I can see, to save energy. If
yeah,
you've got a lot of
yeah.
shows
I think it's like
once.
it depends on like the itinerary. Like, say for
Yeah.
instance, if there's like 6 or 7 things to do in that day, and then maybe, you know, 2 of the shows there's like a quick turnover with the artists that they're having on, then they might just do playback, a mime. But I found that more to be with like some of the earlier pop TV shows that I was doing. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Nowadays, I mean, I know it happens, but I don't really see it as common. But back then, when it was kind of like CD UK and certain like TV stations that were like the music kind of kids Saturday morning television type things, a lot of those were kind of just very mime orientated, and I'm guessing because they just didn't want to have too many technical things going on, I think. So, you know, but then there's something like a Jules Holland, say for instance, you know, that's going to be live, and that whole thing is based upon a live performance. So I think it kind of depends on what program or what type of thing you're on. But yeah, it happens. It does happen. Even, I mean, some artists still do it. You know, some big artists, they do it. I guess maybe to preserve their vocals, or they might have their vocals out. Maybe their vocal cords are sore, so they might think, oh, I need to rest my vocals today. I'll do a mime. You know, production team, for people who don't know, are the people that kind of sort out the staging, sort out the lighting. They have like the staff and allocate who's the tour bus drivers, stage managers, production who are sorting out the daily money for like food and PDs and just the overall running of the whole thing, basically the operation. And yeah, like I've dealt with production managers who, you know, been racist towards me, you know, subliminally, directly, just trying to make my life hard, you know, simple things like you know, like maybe trying to fuck up my in-ear monitors, or do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit like
Sabotage.
that. Sabotage, because I might have been the one to make a complaint about, oh, well, we're out here playing all these shows and all you want to give us is fucking cold sandwiches at the end of the night. I'm the one saying we should be getting hot meals.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so now, in retaliation to that, you fuck up my in-ears the next day and try and do shit to make me fuck up my job, so that you can point the finger at me and say, look, see, he's underperforming. You know, to deal with all of them type of strategies, man. And you know, obviously, because they obviously look at me like, oh, this nigger, do you know what I mean, coming from East London, who the fuck does he think he is, do you know what I mean? We've been doing this for 50 years, doing all these fucking bands, and this fucking nigger comes along and thinks he can tell us about hot meals, fucking nigger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, obviously that's what it is, isn't it? They can't say that, but you can feel that same energy.
You
so
can feel that, that's what it is. So what happened with Christian? Is it Christian Leon too?
Oh shit. Damn, that's taking it back. Yeah, once upon a time he was like the priority artist on he was on Polydor. I got the call, I can't even remember, I got the call and I was in rehearsals.
Okay.
And we was in a studio called Music Bank at the time, and I think we had like maybe 2 weeks rehearsals slotted in, so we was rehearsing every day, lockout rehearsals, and the band, I remember distinctly, like I think I was like maybe like 19 at the time, probably 19 or 20 years old. I was young, man, and I remember every chance of a break, the band wanted to go to the pub for a drink, and I'm not really big on alcohol like that, so for me it was really weird. Like I think I've done like one pub journey with them, you know, but I'm talking about we're in rehearsals and every 2 hours that we have a break or 3 hours, like, oh, should we go to the pub? Oh, should we? Because obviously I'm 18, 19, these were like 27 at the time, so I was the youngest in the band. But it was like they just wanted to get down the pub and get this liquid lunch. That's what I started calling it. so I'm just there like, these lot love a pub, man, and I'm like, I can't do pub 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. I'm really not that way inclined.
Yeah.
So I think like, you know, like after a week and a half of rehearsals, I remember like getting a call from the manager, because I mean, like me, I'd say maybe 6, 7 days in, the MD at the time, he started trying to make things hard for me, and I knew it was all because I didn't want to go to the pub, but he suddenly started having a problem with what I was doing, where I was doing it. You know, he just wanted me to play time, he didn't want me to do any fills, and he just wanted me to keep cutting back, keep pulling back, keep pulling back, keep pulling back, keep pulling back. And I was like, cool, I'll pull back, I won't do anything. But he still seemed to have a problem with what I was doing. I remember getting home one night, I got a call from the manager, and he was like, he started off the conversation like, oh, how do you think things are going? And I was like, yeah, I think things are all right, do you know what I mean? I could tell that this was an odd phone call and this was leading somewhere, but he obviously proceeded to ask me how I felt everything was going, and I told him, look, I just think it's all right, it's not the greatest situation. I think the band are basically alcoholics, and I'm not that way inclined, and I think that that's, you know, affecting the whole thing. And he was like, yeah, you know, I've spoken to the guys and they don't think it's all gelling like it should, and blah blah blah, and you know, we think that it's best that maybe we try like another option and whatnot. So I mean, at the time I was kind of cool, because I was just like, if this is what it's like in rehearsals, then there's no way I'm going to be able to gel with you lot on the road, because I can just see this being an alcohol fest. Do you know what I mean? Left, right, and centre. So I was cool. But then what the manager was talking like is like he wanted to keep my equipment there and bring someone else in to use my equipment. But obviously I'm like, that's not gonna work. So he was like, oh, you can get your equipment at the end of the week. But I'm like, if I'm not working, then my equipment comes with me.
Yeah.
So like, I remember the next day I've just kind of like turned up, and I'm like, yeah, I've turned up with my technician, and I've got my technician in the room kind of breaking down my gear. The manager's trying to phone me like, oh, you're supposed to get your gear at the end of the week. And I'm like, bro, it's my gear comes with me. If I'm not on a job, my gear comes with me. I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to bring in someone so that they could use my gear for the rest of the week and save money and not pay me and whatever.
Pay you for your gear.
Yeah, so I'm a dickhead. So obviously I've turned up the next day with my engineer, and like he's like, oh, we've wasted money on rehearsals already, and we're already like, I don't know how much money they was paying me a day. Maybe it was like 5 bills I think they was giving me or whatever. So he's obviously like, well, you know, grand in a day already, and we have to still find a new drummer and that. I was like, listen, bruv, I don't care. All this stuff you're saying to me, like, whatever. I'm here to just get my gear. So like that's how that, oh, he's the priority artist on Polydor, and I'm just like, fucking, I don't care, because every artist thinks that their every manager thinks that their artist is the biggest thing on the label, and he's going to be the biggest thing.
Well, they have to believe their own shit, don't they?
This is what I'm trying to say. So I'm kind of like, whatever, do you know what I mean? I got my gear, got out of there. I think I heard maybe one single did poorly, and then I never heard from the guy ever again. So I was laughing anyway, because I was like, I thought this guy was a priority artist and he was going to be the biggest thing on Polydor, you know what I mean? So that was that situation. And I had fucking people phoning me telling me, oh yeah, you should have gone to the pub with them, and you should have done this and you should have done that. And I was like, you can all suck your mum, you know what I mean? Because everyone's got advice for how it should be done. If you had all the perfect thing and advice and that, you should go and sit in the seat and do it, you know? So yeah, that's that situation. That guy was an arsehole. His music wasn't that great either, to be honest with you. That's why I didn't really care leaving. So I was just like, yeah, fuck it.